One of artist entrepreneurs' most common hurdles is understanding what copyright is, where to make their music available so that it can be discovered, and how to ensure that their music is registered in all of the right places to ensure that they're generating revenue. In this episode, we simplify the world of CMOs by speaking with Connect Music Licensing Executive Director, Catherine Jones. This is the Industry Insider video series. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Industry Insider video series presented by Connect Music Licensing and Music Canada, where we take artists' most pressing questions and bring them to the top industry experts to get them the tools, resources, and information needed in order to find success. I'm Dominique Grant, and I am your host, and we are very lucky to be sitting down with Catherine, who has a wealth of experience when it comes to the complex world of music licensing. Catherine's worked for a major label, she's worked for one of the top broadcasting companies in Canada, and today she is inspiring and teaching the next generation of artist entrepreneurs through the Humber Business School. Catherine, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thanks for having me.
Now, before we get started, tell us what Connect Music Licensing does.
Connect is a member-based collective management organization. We blanket license the reproduction right for sound recordings to businesses in Canada that use music.
So I've written my song, I've created my recording. What does that mean for copyright?
So there are actually two copyrights in a song, and this is something that people get a little bit confused about. So if you think about a pie is split in half. A song is split in half. You've got the copyright to the music and the lyrics, which is the composition or the musical work. And then there's the copyright in the sound recording or the actual, the song itself that gets broadcast and played. So without those two pieces, you're missing your whole.
Okay, great. And I think those are two key things that a lot of artists are not aware of, so they're really going to appreciate that. For artists who don't yet know how to get their music on a DSP like Amazon, Spotify, Apple Music, what do they need to know?
First and foremost, what you need to do is obtain an ISRC for each recording that you own and want to get out into the world. An ISRC stands for International Standard Recording Code. It's the globally accepted way of tracking recordings, who owns them, how to pay, and who to pay, really. So to get an ISRC code for each of your recordings, you can go to connectmusic.ca, or we have several ISRC managers around Canada that can offer you the same service. And in fact, some of the digital distributors that we work with can offer you an ISRC. They've got registrant codes that they can use to help you. So part two of this answer is to get on a service like a Spotify and Amazon, etc., you need to work with a digital distributor. These services do not work with artists directly, so you need to sign up with somebody, and there's numerous options available to you. Some are Canadian-based, some are American, some are European. What you really need to do is do your homework, find out which one works best for you, because they don't all offer the same services. Some of the fees are different, some are annual, some are based on per recording, some will collect your publishing for you, some will not. So really, it just depends on what your needs are and what you're willing to do. Now, the other important thing to remember is that you can work with several different distributors, but only one per recording for obvious reasons.
What is an ISRC code and why is it important?
Well, without that ISRC code, without the metadata or the DNA of the song, they don't know who owns it or who to pay. So if your song is being broadcast, but we don't have that information as to who the owner is, we may know who the artist is, but if we don't know who the owner is, we don't know what to do with the money. So you may be leaving money on the table.
So artists, one of the key takeaways right now is that you need to ensure that your metadata is together. If your metadata is not together, then you are not going to be able to track your music. You won't know where it's being played. You won't be able to get paid. You need to make sure that you have an ISRC code. And we're going to obviously leave the Connect Music Licensing website in the description as well as at the end of the video. But please research and understand what an ISRC code is, because we have all made the mistake of putting a song out or sending it to someone or not doing that process and realizing that we did not actually know how to find our song. Okay, so I have written my song. And I want to make sure that I'm actually being compensated for my work when it's being played, when it's being performed live. How do I do that?
Well, first you've got to identify what role you're playing in each of these situations. So you've got to remember that there's, just like there's 2 copyrights in a song, there's actually 2 types of royalties that are generated when a song is broadcast or performed live. So the first royalty is the right of reproduction, and that is what Connect licenses, along with another CMO called CMRRA. They license and collect the reproduction right for the mechanical, which is the composition, which is the exact, say, sister to Connect. The other royalty that is generated is the performance royalty. So the performance royalty is paid to the maker of the song through Resound, and then to the publisher of the song through SOCAN. So everybody's quite familiar with SOCAN, but if you're only signed up with SOCAN, you're not signed up with Resound, you're missing a piece of the pie. So up above, when we were talking about the copyrights in the song, we've got 2 pieces of a pie. Well, now we're moving down, we've got 2 different copyrights, and now we've split the pie into 4 in this area. So there is also a performers piece that you can collect, and that is through one of the performer organizations. So like I said, you need to make sure that you understand how the landscape works, what your role is, because if you as an artist entrepreneur, you've written your song, you do not have a publishing deal, you are the artist, and you do not have a label deal, then you are in fact the artist, the record label, the publisher, and the composer. And you need to make sure that you sign up with each of the organizations to collect all the royalties that are available to you.
Okay, so everyone watching this, there are infographics on the Connect Music Licensing website, which you need to learn, memorize, and ingrain in everything and every part of your career. So please go there in order to break that down. Now, Catherine, does it cost money to register for a CMO?
No, all of these organizations are free to join. You can decide what rights you grant to them, what rights you want to control yourself. You can mandate what territory you'd like them to collect for you in. So you have a lot of control over your own copyright in each of these situations.
Okay, and can you register and be a member for multiple CMOs?
Yeah, in fact, you need to be a member of multiple CMOs, depending on, like I said, what role you're playing in that particular situation. So, as the sound recording owner, you would sign up with Connect. As the for the reproduction, as the sound recording owner, you would sign up with Resound or its member collectives to get your performance royalty. As the composer, you sign up with SOCAN, and as the publisher, you sign up with CMRA. It's quite complicated.
I mean, but you're doing a really great job of breaking it down, because I definitely remember at the beginning of my career when I thought, I was a member of one CMO and I had no idea that other ones existed. So I think a lot of artists are going to take a lot from this conversation, and they're also going to collect a lot of money that's sitting and that is waiting for you to collect. Now, I've gone into the studio. Say, for example, I have hired a bunch of musicians. I've paid for their studio time. Are they entitled to royalties? And if they are, where would I direct them in order to collect them?
Yeah, they absolutely are. So they are entitled to a share of the performance royalties, which they would get directly. And as a performer, they need to sign up with one of the performer organizations in Canada, which include ActraRax, MRock, and Artisti, or with Resound directly to get that performer share. With SOCAN, when you sign up as a writer with SOCAN, you get paid your share directly. So it's a similar notion with the performance rights.
I want to move into a topic that's similar to this and that I know is definitely in your world. I would love to speak for the artists who want to get their music placed in TV and film, and they want to know where to start and what they need to know about TV and film placements.
Sure. So that area of licensing is referred to in the industry as synchronization licensing. Once again, 2 copyrights in a song, 2 licenses are required. One is for the master use, and the other one is for the publishing. Typically, the publishing license is called the sync license, but that's also the catch-all term for the type of license that you need. If you are interested in getting your song on a television commercial or in a Canadian television series, your best bet is to do your research, watch the shows, look for the information about the music supervisor at the end of it. You can go on to imdb.com, find out their information, and you can typically find their contact information. And then you will find on their websites whether or not how they like to receive material. Some prefer to get links to stream. Some prefer actual MP3s. Everybody is different, so you really need to do your homework first. The important thing to remember is that you need to Make sure that you give them all the information that you need in terms of the ownership of your song. If you've got co-writers, if you've got co-owner, if there's any samples in the song, they don't want any surprises. So you need to do your homework and make sure everything is nice and clean so that they don't have any headaches trying to license your song.
And I want to echo that last part. Artist entrepreneurs watching, get your contracts done, because there is nothing worse than when a music supervisor receives music that they like and they want to hire you, they want to use your song, and you have no idea how to make sure that they have the permission to do that. So I feel like that's a topic for another time, but I think Catherine's brought up a really important part, first and foremost, about understanding the diversity in what music supervisors like to receive. They don't all like one set format for music. So really paying attention to that. And two, whether you're in your recording sessions or immediately after, figure out the contracts that you need in order to get the songwriters to sign it, in order to get the producers to sign it, so that you're 100% clear on what rights you need to get permission for when someone is interested in placing your music. And that can definitely get in the way. And Catherine, it does get in the way sometimes of artists, being able to have their music placed.
Absolutely. We've seen it lots of times where there's publishing claims that equal 120% because each writer thinks that they own a bigger part of the pie, so to speak. So definitely in terms of a writing session, get those songwriter splits on paper and agreed to before you leave the room. And same thing with ownership of the recording, depending on what your relationship is with your producer or your fellow performers.
Great. Catherine, what is one of the greatest lessons that you've learned throughout your career so far?
I think the most important thing is network, create relationships, nurture your relationships, and you never know. This is a small industry that we're in. You never know when you're going to run into people again. You never know when you're going to need them or they're going to need you. And I think the old "who you know" is really key.
What is a message that you'd like to leave for artist entrepreneurs surrounding music licensing?
The biggest thing to keep in mind is don't beat yourself up if you can't figure this out. This is supremely complex and complicated. And there are people that have been in this industry that still don't understand it either. I've been in this area for almost 30 years, and I still have to stop myself sometimes, mentally go through and make sure that I've covered all the bases. It's not easy. So, be kind to yourself, do your research. If you have any questions or if you're in doubt, reach out. Any of the CMOs are happy to help, and that's what we're here for.
Catherine, thank you so much for your time today and for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
For everyone watching, please go to the Connect Music Licensing website, which we have right here, right below. There are so many infographics, there's so much information, and it is so vital that we are educated on music licensing, on our music rights, and especially on CMOs, because you have a lot of money that is waiting for you. This is the Industry Insider video series.